So I just finished playing GetEven, and holy shit. It was an insanely convoluted, twisted rollercoaster ride of emotional encounters, psychological action, and absolute mindfuckery. Honestly, I've played through the game twice now, and I'm still trying to piece together exactly what the hell was happening. I will be spoiling the hell out of this story in the video, so if you are going to play this game, mute it and let it play all the way to the end. Thank you. Without further ado, this is why I was pleasantly surprised, yet bewildered by GetEven. Part 1, story. The story of this game is absolutely top-notch. You know, back in 2010 when Inception came out, and there was just heaps of people around who were super confused and just couldn't seem to grasp the concept of the movie? I now know how that feels, and I have to tell you, it is not a good feeling. GetEven has your standard mystery thriller plot. Man's daughter gets kidnapped, then dies. Using some super technology, the man endeavors to find out who was involved and why they did it. This story has been done heaps of times before, but the way that the story is approached is what separates this game from everything I've ever experienced. To be honest, I was not expecting this level of complexity in storytelling. As a general rule in my life, I am not a big fan of the mystery thriller genre. I personally find them either way too action-packed to be thriller or way too predictable to be mystery. So the fact that I had no fucking clue what was happening until the game's final reveal moment was an amazing experience for me. It speaks volumes about the skill of the writers and the care they put into the construction of the game. There were quite a few what the fuck and oh my god moments scattered throughout, and it was always enough to keep me guessing.
You have heaps of those moments, don't you, loser?
What do you mean?
Like every time someone sees your penis.
Okay, moving on. You play as the hilariously named Cole Black, a name they never let you forget.
Mr. Black, Mr. Black, Mr. Black, Mr. Black, Mr. Black.
A mercenary who fails to save a girl named Grace, which results in her explosive death and your subsequent hospitalization. You awake near a stereotypical horror-themed asylum with a memory VR device called the Pandora strapped to your head, with no memory of how you got there. From here on, following only the suggestions and nudges of a mysterious figure named Red, you delve into the realm of Black's memories to try and discover the truth. To me, this is really where the game starts to shine. The interactions between Black and Red are the best parts of the story. The chemistry between the two characters is very well defined, and the writing is absolutely brilliant. One thing I truly loved about this is how clueless and frustrated Black was throughout the story, because this perfectly mirrored how clueless and frustrated I was. And every time I was starting to get a grip on the truth, something would happen that would rock my understanding of the world. I would inch closer and closer to discovering the truth, and then BOOM! They reveal that Black is in a coma, and you are actually playing as Red, playing as Black, reliving Black's memories to find out what happened to Grace, why she was kidnapped, and why she was murdered. Stay with me here because it's going to get way more confusing. While playing as Red, you uncover more of the truth and plot that you discovered while playing as Black. Your everyday plot involving murder, espionage, cheating on your wife, and terrorism, until you finally come to the ultimate and unbearably shocking truth that you are actually playing as Grace, Red's daughter, playing through Red's memories of Red playing as Black, playing through Black's memories to find out who was involved with the kidnapping and murder of yourself. There aren't many games out there that really bring you into the eyes of the character you play, so there's always a certain level of disconnect. It's something I like to call the disconnection of identity from controller knowledge. This happens when you aren't fully in tune with your character. There could be many reasons for this happening to you, but it always has the same outcome. You just can't get into the character's head. You can't feel like you are the character. It stops the experience being an experience and turns it into just playing a game. This is the reason why a lot of FPS games have like blank slate characters. Because it's easy. It's incredibly hard to do what the Farm 51 have done with GetEven. It's even harder to have done it successfully with 3 characters throughout a 7-hour-ish story. So well done. It was awesome. Part 2, gameplay. The gameplay in GetEven is as standard as you can get. There's very little in the way of actual game mechanics that you haven't seen or played with before. You have a selection of guns for shooting your enemies and a nifty little phone with a bunch of apps that let you scan evidence, see in infrared, read text messages, make sure you've cleaned up after your morning session, have an aerial tactical map, and go back through all the memos that you've written. All of these apps are used in-game from one level to another, but you'll mainly be sticking to the scanner for story progression and the map for locating and avoiding enemies. By far, the most interesting game mechanic was the corner gun, the device which gives you the ability to shoot around corners or over surfaces without exposing yourself to enemy fire. And it was such a blast to use. This is where the problems start to peek their head out though. GetEven is one of those choice and consequence games. You can play the game any way you want. You can be a murderous asshole or a silent ninja. I have no problem with this kind of system. But if you're like me and you want to get the good, true ending, you have to play by the rules. Sometimes you're not allowed to kill your enemies or be seen, and in this game, that is actually really fucking challenging. The spotting distance of the AI is so inconsistent. I think they were coded while listening to Katy Perry's Hot and Cold. If they did spot you, they would perfectly track you down like a goddamn dog in heat, to the point where in missions that you aren't allowed to be spotted or kill any of the enemies, I was stuck in an endless cycle of dying and repeating and dying and repeating, and it was honestly infuriating, and it makes playing by the rules to get the good ending almost Dark Soulsian in effort. This is what I have a problem with. If getting the best ending of the game depends on actual player performance, then at least make the gameplay in these parts airtight. As it stands now, it felt like an awesome concept that just didn't hit the mark, and it was very disappointing, and more than a little annoying. Ever since the Mass Effect 3 ending controversy, I've always been a little bit wary of the choice and consequence style of games. In the beginning of GetEven, it sets up the whole your actions will have consequences, and it does. It has limited consequences throughout. And although the story of GetEven is amazing, I felt very let down by the amount of choice I actually had. All the decisions and actions that you have boil down to a good ending and a bad ending, with one additional variation of each. It kind of felt like the Mass Effect debacle all over again. No matter what choices you make, you'll always come to two endings, and I really don't like when that happens. It feels like a cop-out, and no amount of what moments can really make up for it. If you're going to make player choice a significant part of the game's mechanics, then it needs to come to more than which flavor sprinkles you like on your two choices of ice cream. Now, this isn't a big deal, and truthfully, it didn't ruin the game for me. The ending I experienced was still emotionally hard-hitting, and I will remember it for a long time. Part 3, graphics and sound design. Just gonna glaze over the graphics of this game, because to be honest, they aren't anything to write home about, so here we go. Outdoor areas were good, indoor areas were meh, asylum areas were shit, character models were just super fucking weird, and the most creative thing I saw was a fragmented person effect that was on all of the eerily realistic memory characters, and I feel that that was done to avoid having to animate even weirder looking speech movements. Those outdoor environments though. In an earlier draft of this script, when I couldn't think of how to properly discuss the soundtrack, I literally only had this written down. And to be honest, it really is. Sound design of this game, with massive props to the music in particular, is the perfect accompaniment to the story. It's chaotic, it's sad, it's confusing, and it's absolutely marvelous. I think the best part about it was how they managed to incorporate the music into the story. For instance, there was one level in the game that had the most kicking tune I've ever heard while killing people in a graveyard. It really helps enhance the facts that you are going through memories and that these things aren't real. Like, a lot of the stuff that you see could not be true, and it's all chaotic and fucked up, and that's awesome. They did a really good job on this, and I loved it.
Yeah, you would like that music, you fucking weeaboo.
Why does enjoying that kind of song make me a weeb?
It doesn't. Being a weeb makes you a weeb.
I'm not a weeb. The use of classical music in a thriller setting is pretty much a trope of its own at this point, but they managed to make it work, especially the violin tracks. I love the violin. If you don't like the violin, then you're a fucking idiot. You're entitled to your own opinion, and that's fine. But in all seriousness, I loved the musical aspect and sound design of this game. Extremely good work by composer Oliver de Riviere. Very well done. Conclusion. I feel like I've been a little all over the place with my discussion of this game, but you know what? That's okay. This game has some great qualities about it that shine brightly amongst the ocean of mediocrity that is out there on today's shelves. But it also has some pretty mediocre aspects itself. Much like my parental figures, GetEven makes a solid attempt at trying something different, and I can appreciate that on a creative level. The story aspect of it is definitely where it shines brightest. I felt lost, confused, and frustrated as Black. I felt angry, cheated, and desperate as Red. And I felt hollow, sad, and empty while playing as Grace. And I applaud them for having done this so well. I will definitely be remembering this story for a while. You would not be amiss in picking this game up.